Emily closed her eyes for a moment, letting the warmth of the morning sun caress her face. It was the start of a day she had eagerly awaited, but it carried a weight of expectation and anxiety. Beside her, Michael, her husband, meticulously checked the supplies in the trunk of the car, his mind focused on technical details, but his heart beating in the hopeful rhythm of Emily. Ethan and Olivia, their 10 and 8-year-old children, respectively, ran around the vehicle, their laughter and shouts of excitement filling the air with contagious energy. The family was about to embark on an adventure in the Pisgah National Forest in North Carolina, a vast area of wild beauty that promised an escape from the confines of modern life. For Emily, this trip was more than just a simple camping outing. It was an opportunity to reconnect with her family, to write new memories in a story already rich with love and companionship. Michael, an outdoor enthusiast with extensive camping and survival experience, saw in the journey a chance to share his knowledge and passion for nature with his children, teaching them valuable lessons that only the challenge of the wilderness could offer. The preparation for the trip had been meticulous. Michael spent weeks planning the route, selecting equipment, and studying maps of the forest, while Emily focused on ensuring that the family's basic needs were met, from food to entertainment for the downtime. Ethan and Olivia, although initially reluctant to leave behind their electronic games and the comfort of home, were gradually drawn in by the promise of adventure, starry nights, and stories around the campfire. On the day of departure, the sky was clear, and the fresh air promised a pleasant journey. The drive to the entrance of Pisgah National Forest was marked by singing, imaginative car games, and palpable anticipation. Upon arrival, they were greeted by a spectacular view: mountains rising majestically against the blue sky, vast stretches of trees, whispering ancient stories with the breath of the wind. Emily's heart filled with serene joy. Michael felt a rush of adrenaline contemplating the challenge and beauty of nature. Ethan and Olivia were awestruck, their eyes shining with the promise of discovery. The first part of the trail was marked by laughter and lively conversation. Michael led the way with confidence, sharing facts about the local flora and fauna, while Emily kept the group's spirits high, encouraging the children to observe and appreciate the little miracles of nature around them. Ethan, with his insatiable curiosity, asked incessant questions about each new bird or plant he saw, while Olivia collected small natural treasures, interestingly shaped leaves and smooth stones, with a look of wonder. As the day progressed and the trail took them deeper into the forest, the feeling of isolation from the outside world grew. The beauty of nature was omnipresent, but so was its untamable vastness. When an unexpected storm quickly formed, the family was caught off guard. The sky, previously clear, darkened with heavy clouds that brought howling winds and torrential rain. Michael, always prepared, instructed his family to seek shelter under the canopy of trees while they tried to protect their supplies. They huddled together, watching with a mix of awe and apprehension as the storm raged around them. Nature, in all its magnificent force, unleashed a spectacle of booming thunder and lightning that streaked across the sky. After hours that seemed like an eternity, the storm finally subsided, leaving behind a damp silence and a transformed forest. The path they had followed was now obscured by fallen branches, and the saturated ground made walking difficult. Attempting to resume the trail, the family discovered that their landmarks had been altered or destroyed by the storm, and without realizing, they began to stray further from the planned path. With night approaching and the way back uncertain, Michael attempted to use his GPS, only to discover that the storm had damaged their electronic devices. The family faced the reality of being lost in the vastness of Pisgah National Forest, with no communication with the outside world and limited resources. Emily, despite the fear beginning to form in her heart, looked to Michael, Ethan, and Olivia, and with a firm voice full of optimism said, "We will find our way back. We're in this together, and that's what matters." Her words had a calming effect, especially on Ethan and Olivia, who looked to their mother for a sign of security. Michael, though concerned, nodded, his confidence as a father and husband demanding that he remain steadfast and resilient in the face of challenges. They decided to set up an improvised camp for the night, using Michael's survival skills to build a shelter and keep the family warm and as comfortable as possible under the circumstances. By the light of a torch they managed to light, the family gathered, sharing stories and plans for the next day, trying to keep spirits high. That night, under a sky slowly clearing of storm clouds and revealing stars that shone with a comforting light, the family felt their connection more than ever. They were lost, yes, but they were also together, facing the unknown with a shared determination to overcome and return home. This unity, forged not just by love but also by shared adversity, would be their beacon in the challenging days ahead. The next morning, the Pisgah forest revealed itself in a new light, its sounds and colors intensified by the recent storm. The family awoke, determined to find their way back, but also aware of the challenges that awaited them. Michael took the lead, using his orienteering skills to try to determine their position and the best route back, while Emily focused on keeping spirits high, especially for the children, turning each small progress into a victory to be celebrated. Ethan and Olivia, although initially frightened by the situation, began to see their experience as an adventure, a perspective their parents encouraged, wanting them to learn and grow from the situation, rather than fear it. Under Michael's guidance, they learned to identify sources of potable water, gather edible wild fruits, and even build simple shelters. Each lesson was not just a tool for survival, but also a life lesson about resilience, observation, and patience. The challenges of survival were constant. The search for food led them to explore areas of the forest that were both beautiful and relentless. On one occasion, while searching for edible mushrooms, they encountered a deer watching from a distance, a silent reminder of the wildlife that shared the space with them. Another time, while filtering water from a stream, they were surprised by the visit of an American black bear, an encounter that tested both Michael's courage and his knowledge of how to deal with wild animals. The family dynamic strengthened remarkably during these days. The hardships faced together served as a reminder of what mattered most: the family. Conversations around the evening campfires deepened, moving beyond the everyday to explore hopes, dreams, and fears. Emily and Michael shared stories from their own childhoods, teaching Ethan and Olivia about the importance of perseverance and hope. Among the moments of tension, there were spaces of pure beauty and deep connection with nature. The family witnessed sunrises that painted the sky in vibrant colors, and starry nights that reminded them of the vastness of the world beyond the forest. These experiences, though born from challenging circumstances, brought a new perspective on life and the world around them. As the days passed, the reality of their situation became more pressing. The food they had brought was nearly depleted, and although they had managed to supplement it with wild fruits and other edibles found in the forest, the uncertainty about rescue began to weigh on them. Michael, always the practical optimist, began to devise more detailed plans to increase their chances of being found, such as creating smoke signals during the day and keeping a fire lit at night. It was during one of these moments, while trying to create a large SOS on the forest floor with stones and branches, that Ethan, playing a little distance away, shouted for his parents. He had found fresh boot prints, a clear indication that they were not alone in the forest. The discovery filled the family with renewed hope for rescue. Michael examined the prints, determining that they were recent and seemed to follow a consistent direction. They decided to follow the prints, hoping they would lead to other humans, perhaps even to rescue teams or experienced hikers who could help them find their way back. Following the prints required the family to summon a new level of perseverance and trust. The terrain was challenging, marked by steep hills and dense valleys, but the possibility of salvation propelled them forward. Along the way, Michael and Emily taught Ethan and Olivia to stay alert, to observe signs from nature that could indicate directions or dangers. The forest, with its layers of shadows and light, seemed to watch them pass, a sleeping giant filled with mysteries. After hours of following the prints, the family arrived at a clearing where a small stream cut through the landscape. And, to their surprise and relief, they found a campsite, a tent set up and a recently extinguished fire. Hearts pounding with hope, they called out for anyone who might be nearby, but no response came. Investigating closer, they discovered that the campsite seemed to have been abandoned in haste, with provisions and camping equipment left behind. Michael examined the items, trying to decipher the story behind the solitary camp. Among the items, he found a map of the forest with several handwritten notes indicating trails and points of interest. It was the first concrete clue about their location in the forest and a valuable resource for planning their next move. Here's the translation into American English. The discovery of the map renewed the family's spirits. They camped near the stream that night, using the equipment found to enhance their own campsite. Under the night sky, they discussed their plans for the following day, deciding to follow one of the trails marked on the map that seemed to lead towards the more frequented area of the forest. The next morning, armed with new hopes and the found map, the family continued their journey. The challenges remained: rugged terrain, the constant search for water and food, and the uncertainty of whether they were heading in the right direction. However, the map was a compass, not just physically but also emotionally, guiding them not only through the forest but also strengthening their collective spirit. The days that followed were a mix of physical effort and emotional resilience. There were moments of doubt and fear, especially when they faced heavy rains again or when the path seemed uncertain. But there were also moments of unexpected joy: the sighting of a majestic moose at dawn, the discovery of a field of wild strawberries, and the night when, around the campfire, Olivia sang a song she had composed, inspired by their adventure. Each step, each decision made, brought them not only closer to civilization but also to a deeper understanding of themselves and what they were capable of as a family. They learned about the strength that resides in vulnerability, the importance of each family member, and the beauty of nature, both in its gentleness and its ferocity. With the map found at the abandoned camp in hand, the family followed the trail that, according to its annotations, would lead them to the more frequented area of the forest and, hopefully, to rescue. With each step, they felt closer to home but also more aware of the dangers they could still face. On a particularly cold morning, after weeks of uncertainty, the trail led them to a steep slope shrouded in mist. Visibility was low and the terrain treacherous. Carefully, they began the descent, Michael in front, testing the ground with each step, followed by Emily, who kept a watchful eye on Ethan and Olivia. As they descended, the mist began to dissipate, revealing the vast valley that stretched out before them. It was a breathtaking spectacle, with the morning sun illuminating the treetops and rivers winding like silver ribbons in the distance. For a moment, all fatigue, fear, and uncertainty were forgotten, replaced by a sense of wonder and smallness in the face of nature's immensity. Continuing their journey, they reached a part of the forest that showed signs of more human activity, more defined trail marks, signs of recent campsites, and finally, the distant sound of voices. Hearts pounding with excitement, they followed the sound, calling for help with all the strength they had left. The sound led them to a clearing, where a group of scouts was gathered, preparing to start their morning hike. Upon seeing the family, the scouts were initially surprised, then quickly mobilized to help. Among the scouts was an experienced leader who immediately recognized the seriousness of the situation and the need for swift action. As first aid was administered, the scout leader used his radio to call for rescue, informing the authorities of the family's exact location. While waiting for the rescue, the family shared their story with the scouts, talking about the weeks lost in the forest, the challenges faced, and the lessons learned. The scouts, in turn, listened with admiration and respect, touched by the family's courage and determination. Rescue arrived in the form of a search and rescue team, who quickly assessed the family's condition before taking them back to civilization. The helicopter that transported them offered an aerial view of the vast forest they had navigated, a physical and symbolic reminder of the incredible journey they had undertaken. Upon returning to civilization, the family was greeted with relief and joy by friends and relatives who had anxiously awaited news. The local media quickly became interested in the family's story, amazed by the saga of survival and the miraculous rescue. In the days and weeks that followed, as the family recovered physically and emotionally, they had the opportunity to reflect on the experience. Emily and Michael, strengthened by the challenge, found a new appreciation for each other and for their children. Ethan and Olivia, though young, matured in ways that only such extreme circumstances could facilitate, carrying with them a deep gratitude for life and the lessons learned in the forest. Their story of survival and rescue became a symbol of hope and resilience for many. Schools and organizations invited them to share their story, eager to hear first-hand narratives of courage, family unity, and the power of persistence in the face of the impossible. For Emily, the experience reinforced the importance of family ties and optimism, even in the most challenging circumstances. She found a new voice, sharing her story in blogs and talks, inspiring others to find strength in adversity and to never underestimate the power of the human spirit. Michael, on the other hand, became an advocate for emergency preparedness and education on wilderness survival. His experience in the forest led him to collaborate with scout organizations and hiking groups, teaching survival skills and sharing knowledge that could one day save lives. Ethan and Olivia, transformed by the adventure, grew up with a unique appreciation for nature and the outdoors. They became young adventurers, participating in scout camps and exploring new trails with their parents, each trip an opportunity to learn and grow. The local community, touched by the family's story, came together in an effort to improve safety measures in Pisgah National Forest. Clearer signage, educational programs about nature and emergency preparedness became priorities, ensuring that the beauty of the forest could be safely appreciated by everyone. The family's saga in the forest was not just a story of survival but also of transformation. They not only survived physically but emerged emotionally and spiritually strengthened, with a new perspective on life and what is truly important. In the celebration of their return, the family looked back on the journey they had completed, with a mix of awe, gratitude, and a bit of incredulity. The forest, with its towering trees and hidden mysteries, had been both a formidable adversary and a wise teacher. The lessons learned under its vast canopy would resonate with them forever, a reminder that even in the darkest hours, the light of hope, the love of family, and the strength of unity can overcome the most formidable challenges. The climax of the miraculous rescue is not just the moment when the family is found, but the point of transformation in their lives, where each family member finds a new purpose and a new appreciation for the life they share. It's a celebration of the human spirit, the strength of nature, and the transformative power of adversity. In the days following their return, the family found themselves in a media storm, community curiosity, and overwhelming affection from friends and family. While grateful for the concern and support, the family longed for a return to normalcy, for moments of tranquility together, away from the spotlight that now surrounded them. Emily took the initiative to organize family therapy sessions. It was essential for them to process the events, the emotions, and the lessons learned during the weeks in the forest. These sessions became a sacred space where they could share their fears, their hopes, and the dreams that now guided them. Emily, whose strength had been a pillar for the family in the forest, found in writing a way to express her reflections and inspirations. She began working on a book, detailing not only their survival, but the profound emotional and spiritual journey the family faced. Michael, meanwhile, dedicated himself to promoting education about nature and survival. He collaborated with local schools, scout groups, and community organizations, sharing his experiences and knowledge. His goal was simple but profound: to ensure that others had the resources and knowledge to face, and perhaps avoid, the dangerous situations his family had endured. Ethan and Olivia emerged from their adventure not just as children who had survived in the forest, but as young ambassadors for nature. They joined groups of young environmentalists, motivated by the experience of nearly losing everything and the untamed beauty they had witnessed. Together, they worked on conservation and education projects, eager to make a difference in the world around them. The community, inspired by the family's story and Michael's efforts, began to organize regular first aid and survival workshops, as well as educational hikes in Pisgah National Forest. These initiatives not only strengthened community bonds but also fostered a new respect and appreciation for the wild nature in their backyard. Over time, the forest, which once represented a place of great danger and challenge, became a symbol of resilience, learning, and beauty. The family returned several times, not as unwitting tourists but as deeply connected connoisseurs of the land that had tested them in ways they never imagined. Each visit was an opportunity to remember, to reconnect, and to give thanks. Emily's book was published, becoming an inspiring bestseller. People across the country were touched by the family's story, finding in her words a reminder of what is truly important: the strength of the human spirit, the power of family love, and the innate ability to overcome adversity. As the years passed, the experience in the forest remained with them, not as a shadow, but as a guiding light. Emily and Michael, whose marriage had been strengthened by the trials they faced together, continued to be pillars of love and support for each other. Ethan and Olivia grew up with wisdom and maturity that surpassed their age, driven by the values and lessons the forest had taught them.